2 years ago, we had a successful surgery for one of our beneficiaries right here at Snell Specialist Hospital, Community 6, Tema. Today, we are here for another episode. Does eating too much gari have any adverse effects on our health? We'll find out how we busted this myth. This week in medicine is going to take us back in history as to how doctors prevented a hand that was accidentally amputated from totally dying. Do men ever reach menopause? Our renowned urologist, Dr. Morton, is going to tell us more about this. And the jewels in the kitchen. Remember catching about moko no home faso. Stala moko obotum wa bwahin wa ya poem. This is Vodafone Healthline Spin-off edition.
To data ebony day *700#.
BOY boy. Taxi. Amma is going home. Further together.
You can be part of a greater data world of endless possibilities on Vodafone. With the best value and amazing data offers and services in Ghana, you can now dream bigger, explore wider, go further, get more for less with Vodafone data.
We can do anything we put our mind to.
Vodafone. Further together.
Ma me kaide mo secondary school na kade eti gari too much wonya befra. In fact, I did believe it for a while. Let's see how we busted this myth.
Hey, Gary Asami. Gary Ayedi. Ebi anu na ma Dr. Yalisha's person no.
Hacho.
When you were secondary school.
Mika mindi gari kada.
Hey.
Debi.
We are Ghana ni.
Debi minya Ghana.
Doc.
Ade.
No cry na, no.
Oh, patanya ne cry.
Okay. Na ni ankasa no. It is saying
so to the best of our knowledge, I agree. Gari has very little to do with the eyesight.
Okay.
We have vitamins that enhance eyesight,
okay,
which is not in gari.
Okay.
That's for starters.
Okay.
Good. But those vitamins are not in yam either. So okay, the baseline is the components of gari is predominantly starch. But as to it affecting adversely your eyesight, it's totally false.
Dr. Forson, I didn't say too much. You see, him say too much of everything is bad. The too much na him say vitamin C, Dr. Yali Ken. Enemy. Ebiana no cry wo.
Oh, Debbie, I mean, so generally, udi gari too much crying, you know, kwana udi. I'm assuming that you eat all the other things that have the vitamins.
Kashit.
Oh,
my favorite.
Serious?
Gashit, you add sardine.
2 a.m.
Sardine and a vegetable oil.
Okay. It's a balance.
But truthfully, for eyesight today, you need the fruits, the veggies, the vitamins to help. Gari is starch, like you said. It's energy giving. And usually when you eat it and you work out or you do your regular activities, you're able to burn it off. I think the way I think now gari, I say powder bisa and kofofo say betumi ama weni, but really no.
I mean, can do in French. Is your name the brothalized way of saying gari?
cassava flakes.
Oh, and what
Cassava flakes.
Menya Ghana.
And
so cassava flakes and then dibi. Di cassava flakes. Gary name say me.
Cassava
flakes.
Ayo.
I hope the confusion about Gary has been cleared. Up next, we're going to our kitchen to hear what Frema had to say about pepper.
Welcome to Jewels in the Kitchen with me, Frema. Today we are talking about moko shraka. Pepe. I'm moving, but moko ankasa. Ebi say, you be anim, nutrition be anim. Baba shock or vitamin B6 or vitamin A. At what was so, but when him say, mabat na hide. Why ben abeti? Anti-inflammatory, of course. Into moko, yes, moko ya anti-inflammatory. What does it mean? As usual, se krobi o mua ebwa ma umia krono. Moko na adene ama moko ama moko anu ye yano. You know, the heat of pepper is what people have been promoting for weight loss, and it's true. It's very true. The hotter the pepper, the more effective it is in helping you lose weight because it boosts your metabolism that way. Sa adene ama moko so anu ye yano. A doctor for ne pharmacist no ne sankofo no etumi a extract e de ahye creams mu for topical pain relief. Yes, men can say go moko shakasra ugjonkuzu utumi ya dia ene boa wo so yo, but me can kire no hu se moko wo ho no e powerful ankasa. Moko so ebe shock o moko boa akoma ai minim se wudi moko bro so ma akoma hyehyew wa hwe kra benya diarrhea no benya coke ni salt na e kan wasem no, but enye na me kan wasem ene bese eti ase se moko wo anu ya but dia ema anu ya no so eboa pomodin into the up to your limit. They want to build up their ability to withstand the heat. No? Kakra, because after all, it's an acquired taste, isn't it?
Today ebony day *700#
BOY boy. Taxi. Ama is going home further together.
Afedie, musu betumi nya kwanya sronko a ye nije ye power Vodafone so. Ye the data bundles are any seso Ghana ha bro. Ye more dan so, ye ni da so nyina bem. Enti baka ye ho, nya data mo ni je power bebre.
We can do anything we put our mind to.
Vodafone, further together.
Yenya yenyumde ye maame mo eya wodu menopause. Na ye papa mo say yenkete ma Dr. Morton Okaimba.
Well, we have Dr. Bernard Morton here to tell us all about male infertility because frankly, some men think that they can have babies even when they are 100 years old. How true is that myth anyway?
Anyway, the truth is not a myth as such. What I would say is not all males who can have children throughout their lives.
Okay.
Some may be having some abnormalities as a result of something they have been born with, or they may have it because of certain toxins or diseases they have had in their lifetime.
Okay.
So that may change it. So it is not all men who can have children throughout their life.
Okay. So Doc, does it mean that if you don't have any of those issues you just mentioned, ill health, toxins, or any of that, a man has no biological clock?
so to speak, not unlike women, men don't have biological clock.
Wow.
But it declines from, let's say, the 7th decade going.
Okay.
Both testosterone and your ability to produce sperm declines with time.
Okay.
So in that sense, there is a time to it.
Okay, so by 7th decade, you mean, for those who might not be too sure, 70
years? Around 60 years.
67, 70 years, okay, going.
Or 50 years going.
Okay.
There's a general decline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what can cause a man not to become fertile, since they technically have better chances of having babies in the old age?
To put it in a summary, it's good to weigh it against what is normal.
Okay.
And because you can say that to be able to give birth to a child, there's a little bit of probability to it. Okay. Because the sperm has to be deposited in the female reproductive tract, higher in the vagina, near to the cervix. That's what we call the neck of the womb, and travel all the way up the womb into the fallopian tube. In some ways, it's like a man swimming continuously about 6 miles.
Hey.
Yes. So there is some what do you call a process to it. So you have to know what is normal, and then you can compare it to the abnormal. So for a man to be able to give birth, he has to have a working testis. And the testis is composed about 2 parts. One, virtually, there's a tube, very tiny tube, which is folded, very compact in the testis. And those tubes form about 70% of the testis. And then the areas surrounding those tubes are also something which in medicine we call interstitium, where the testis produces the testosterone, which is the hormone in man that gives you male features. The one in the female gives a female features. So this sort of thing in the testis have to work very well. And for it to function, there are controls from the brain, and the part of the brain that produces the same hormones which come and regulate it. And once it is producing enough, it sends the feedback that I'm producing enough, and then whatever instructs the testis to produce the semen, and then the testosterone also comes down. So if there's any defect in this axis, let me put the term, it's called hypothalamus pituitary testis axis. So it's like we just take it from the brain to the midbrain, upper brain, midbrain, and then to the testis. So it is sort of like a hierarchy. And any defect in any of these can result in it being defective. And I have to quickly mention that there's a reason why the testis hangs outside the body.
Yes. Doc, you've read my mind.
Exactly. And the reason is that the testis needs about 2 to 4 degrees temperature, lower than the core body temperature, to function very well.
When you say core body, but what do you mean?
What I mean is that for the things that is produced in the body, they release substances, and that those substances, we call it metabolism, and they release the substances release heat. So we operate at a particular temperature. Now, if that core temperature of the body is not suitable for optimal production of sperms, so there's a reason why God made it hang outside.
It's cooler
in the testes than. So if you realize, males realize when it is very cold, it seems as if it is drawn a little bit to the body, and when it is warmer, it's a little bit away. But this testis wasn't in the scrotum right from birth. When you were in your mother's womb, it was actually in the upper part of the body, and it moves down. By the time you are born, it is in the testis.
Wow.
That is wonderful. So if for some reason following it down, it is halted, then it means that it will be exposed to
the heat in
the body, and that in itself. So certain children, they are born without the testis in the scrotum.
They can, I was going to say, that means they can have scrotum, but don't be testis inside.
Exactly.
Because it didn't come down like you were telling us.
So it's good mothers inspect the child.
How would you know? Does it feel different?
Okay, for the testes to be in the scrotum,
yes.
you see the scrotal skin
yes.
is not like our ordinary skin, which is stretched, but that one is folded.
Okay.
Yeah. But the for the testes to be inside, it will be folded, what we call rugy.
Okay.
But if it is not in, you see that place will be flat
or smooth. Will it look smooth?
It looks smooth, so, more or less. I was trying to use a simple way, so it looks smooth, as you say. So what we term hypoplastic. So any of these abnormalities can affect you.
The fertility.
And then for the body, apart from it hanging outside, you can say a two-path way, like you are moving on a road, one going and one coming. For most part of the body, that's how the blood supply is.
Okay.
So one artery is coming from the heart to supply nutrients and oxygen, and one vein taking back the waste, back to the heart. Now, for the testes, it's slightly different. Okay. It is one with a lot of veins around it.
Okay.
And these veins, as the blood is coming, because of the veins are cooler than the testes, they take much of the heat out. And that makes it cooler. But sometimes these veins might malfunction. And then they are not able to take the heat out.
Wow.
So, if you are a young male and you realize that after adolescence, you feel this dragging pain, it's good. Some keep it. It's good you come, because sometimes we call it varicocele. That may be the cause of infertility.
Okay. What about the low sperm count that people are now selling drugs everywhere? Don't call me, don't call me.
Exactly. And it is very important that you seek the help of an expert. Who is going to go through your whole history, the sexual history, because as I've said, somebody may, for instance, if a couple are living, even though they are living, most of the time they are not together. Maybe the husband is working elsewhere, so he comes out around only the weekends. So it means that if, what do you call it, the ovulation period doesn't fall over during the weekend.
That's it.
That's in how many times will it fall within a year? Sort of. So it is important. So maybe it's just having adequate sex may solve your problem. Second, there are so many medications that have what you call impact on the parameters of the low sperm count. So you may be taking a medication that is going to make it worse. And then because some of the medication, this negative feedback mechanism I've talked about, it is for all sex hormones, for both the male sex hormone and the female sex hormone. And the male sometimes produces some amount of female sex hormone, but in a lower quantity. Some of these things act like the female sex hormone. So it will be telling the brain that I have enough. So it will rather make it worse. So we should be very careful about using this. And then it has been studied that some environmental toxins like industrial waste and so on. So because a study shows that over the years, from like 1950s to about 1990s, throughout the world, the sperm count of men have dropped considerably. And pesticides, insecticides that we use and so on have said to have effects on the sperm count. And certain medications, as I've mentioned. So it's important to seek the help of an expert. Yes, and I can't overemphasize. And I like to also talk about this sexual history that is good if you are an infertile couple. You time your intercourse around time of ovulation. On the average, it varies from one woman to the other. But on the average, you have 28 days in a cycle. And around the 14th, that's when the ovulation occurs. What you know is the time that you menstruate, and that's the beginning of another cycle. So depending, some you may use your temperature falling. Some women are lucky enough to feel the pain when they ovulate, and during that time. So during the time of ovulation, that's the mid-cycle period, it's good you have sex almost every day. And that increases your chances of getting pregnant.
So is there another way to help fertility when it comes to men? Is it something can do?
Yes. Normally, if you come to the clinic and you are evaluated, you'll be examined. How many times you have sex, certain things that you have encountered, like things like smoking, alcohol. For instance, I have to mention quickly. It's known that there's a mothers who smoke during the time of pregnancy. It has an impact on their sons, and they are known to give birth to children with smaller testes compared to the average population. So all these things, somebody may be drinking so much or taking a lot of alcohol, and then certain recreational drugs like cannabis and so on are also known to have some impact on your fertility. So after we have taken all this history, and then also your childhood is something like immunization of children, because mumps, most of the time it affects the salivary glands, but occasionally it can also affect the testes. And sometimes it's painful enough for even the young child to remember, and that can have impact on the child. So immunization of childhood diseases is very relevant to avoid all these things. So we check all this, and then we examine you, look at your testes and look for any abnormalities, this varicocele I've mentioned, which may not affect, which may affect the temperature around the testes, and then cause what do you call it, the testes not to function well, and will translate into small poor semen analysis. So after we've done all that, then we can advise you. Sometimes some come so stressed out, so they may need some sort of psychological education, and then therapy, so that it will calm things down, and then they themselves may be able to. Sometimes even with the counseling alone, it may improve the outcome. And then where there is a defect, you will be treated accordingly. Sometimes some may need surgery, and then we do that if that is necessary.
Everything you've told me, Dr. Morton, is giving me hope that this is mostly curable. We shouldn't stay home and say, I cannot, and I'm too shy, it's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. Just seek the expert advice.
Exactly, and that is very, very, very important, that you seek the expert advice, so that you are appropriately treated and classified. And for those who, because the simple ones, for urologists, for instance, we try as much as possible to be able to, and you to have sex naturally. But if there is a need be, then we use the assisted reproductive technologies to help you.
So, Dr. Morton, do men go through their own menopause?
Yes, some have called it andropause. Also, yes, as I've mentioned, there's a decline in testicular function. That is your testosterone level, and then the amount of semen you can produce with that, even though it doesn't stop, but there's a decline, and that has been termed as menopause. So but sometimes medically, we give certain therapies which can precipitate it for some reason or the other, like men who are having certain therapies for prostate cancer, sometimes need to be given medication to control, lower or stop testosterone production, because that fuels the cancer to grow, and they will be experiencing hot flashes and so.
I was going to ask, what are the symptoms of the andropause?
Yes, hot flashes. Some may have gynecomastia. What that means that they will be developing breasts, and sometimes some also develop it as a result of a genetic condition, which may impact on their fertility. So if you are a male and you are realizing that you are developing female features, or your male after puberty, your male features is not like the sexual distribution of hair and so on. It's not typical. It's good you seek help, because there are certain genetic syndromes that lead to that. So that sometimes if you come early enough, where facilities are available, we will retrieve the sperm and store it. In future, you can use it, rather than wait and then you may lose the ability to produce sperms altogether.
Well, now we know. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Morton. I've learned so much. I just kept listening and listening and thought, wow, there's so much we need to know, and it gives us so much confidence. Well, we'll be right back.
As clearly stated by Dr. Morton, men do not have biological clocks. However, as we age, our testosterone levels do drop, and these may have some changes that we don't quite appreciate. Up next, we'll be reminding ourselves of how doctors kept the hand alive in This Week in Medicine. Today in This Week in Medicine, we talk about a historic event where a man's hand was grafted, meaning it was joined to his leg to prevent it from dying. The body tissues constantly need to be perfused, that is, receive blood supply, to remain viable or healthy. In the event of a total severance, that is, when there's a total separation from the body, perfusion must be established as soon as possible to give the limb a chance of survival. We turn our attention to China, where in July 2015, a young man working in a family factory had a total amputation of his hand while operating a machine. He searched desperately for a hospital that could reattach the hand. After about 7 hours, he arrived at the Xianga Hospital, where they had doctors with the knowledge and skill to help him. The procedure was scheduled to be a two-stage procedure. The first was to attach the hand to the leg to allow for satisfactory healing in the wounded area, to deal with infections, and then reattach the hand from the leg back to the upper limb. I know what you're thinking. No nerves were joined, so the hand was not moving while attached to the leg. After a month, the hand was successfully rejoined. About 20 such cases are believed to have been performed before this index case. In July 2015, in Ghana, an SHS graduate, Philip Awaga, who had a near amputation of his forearm, was saved by the efforts of plastic and orthopedic surgeons in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, including the current CEO, Dr. Ampoma, Dr. Daku, Dr. Ngeza, Dr. Davis, Dr. Minor, Dr. Nuchuklu, Dr. Elliot Bohan, Dr. Abnakwafu, and I'm privileged to say that I was a humble member of that team. It took a total of 18 hours to complete. On this note, I urge the younger ones to keep dreaming. Together, we can make Ghana a better place. The successful story of this little boy about 7 years ago indeed gives me hope. I am confident that soon every health procedure available worldwide will be available right here in Ghana on Ghanaian soil for the Ghanaian people. Before we go, my advice is on menopause. Menopause is indeed inevitable for every woman. Know what menopause is, what the signs and symptoms are, how to live your life around it, and how to enjoy your life during menopause. Till we meet again, stay safe and healthy.